I want to talk to you today about your faith. In Mark chapter 5, there was a lady that had a bleeding disorder for 12 years. She'd gone to many doctors, spent all of her money, tried everything she could to get well, but nothing helped. She continued to go downhill. One day, there was all this commotion in her town. She found out that Jesus was passing through. She had heard the stories of how he had healed a crippled man, how he'd opened blind eyes, how he'd cured someone with leprosy. Something came alive on the inside. She thought, he did it for others, he can do it for me. She could have been discouraged, complaining, life is not fair, why did this happen? Instead, she said to herself, if I can get to Jesus and just touch the fringe of his robe, I know I will be healed. The problem was, there was a great crowd surrounding Jesus. Thousands of people, all packed in. Seemed impossible. Most people would have given up and thought, hey, it's not meant to be. Not this lady. She started making her way through the crowd. Excuse me, I need to get by. Pardon me, I have to get up front. I don't mean to be rude, but move out of my way. People looked at her like, what's this lady's problem? She was on a mission. She had a made-up mind. I'm sure she was weak. She had lost blood for years. She didn't feel like it, but she fought her way through the crowd. One version said, she kept saying to herself, when I get to Jesus, I know I will be well. She was saying, I know healing is coming. I know things are turning in my favor. It's tough now. I'm tired, I'm weak, but I know I'm close to my breakthrough. The reason she could keep going is she kept the right thoughts playing in her mind. I can imagine she was so exhausted, she finally fell to the ground, had to crawl the last few feet. Just at the right time, she reached out and touched the edge of Jesus' robe. All of a sudden, Jesus stopped, said to his disciples, who just touched me? And they said, what do you mean? It's crowded out here. Everybody's touching you. He said, in effect, no, everyone may be bumping into me, but somebody just touched me. Somebody drew the miracle-working power out of me. They believed healing was coming. They believed their child was going to turn around. They believed new doors were going to open. They touched me with expectancy. About that time, Jesus looked at this woman. Their eyes met. She was afraid, thought she'd done something wrong. Jesus smiled and said, daughter, your faith has made you whole. Go in peace. You are healed. Notice the key was her faith. It was great that her parents were praying. Her friends were encouraging her. Her neighbors were cheering her on. That's all good. But there's nothing more powerful than your faith. When you believe, when you expect things to change, when you keep saying to yourself, I know the breakthrough is coming. I know healing is on the way. I know the right person is in my future. I know what God started, he's going to finish. Your faith can stop the creator of the universe. That's what activates his power. There were other people in the crowd that day that were sick. Many people that had needs. No doubt they bumped into Jesus. Nothing happened. But this lady touched him. Are you brushing up against him or are you touching him? Are you living with expectancy, knowing that he's bigger than those problems, greater than that sickness, more powerful than that opposition? Or have you become discouraged, thinking it's never going to change? God is passing by. He has all power. Don't just brush up against him. Don't be passive and think you could never accomplish your dreams, never meet the right person, never start your business. Do like this lady. Reach out and touch him. Release your faith. Believe that it will happen. This lady was closest to her miracle when she faced the greatest opposition. Would have been easy if Jesus would have come, just a few disciples. She could have gone out and touched him without the struggle, without all the people in the way. But she had to fight through the crowd. The crowd represents broken dreams, things that didn't work out. Thoughts telling you it's never going to get better. You'll never get well. Never break the addiction. The crowd can be negative words people have spoken over us. You're not that talented. You can't accomplish your dreams. If you're going to reach your potential, you have to fight through some things. You can't have a weak, give up, this is too hard spirit. You have to be more determined than what's trying to stop you. You may get knocked down, but you have to get back up again. You need to have a made-up mind. This disappointment is not going to stop me. I'm not going to let the mistakes I've made, the guilt, the regrets cause me to shrink back. I'm not going to allow the bad breaks, the people that did me wrong, the rejection, the betrayal cause me to get bitter and stay where I am. I'm going to fight through the crowd. Many of the miracles Jesus performed, He laid His hands on people and they were healed. But in this case, Jesus didn't lay hands on the woman laid hands on Jesus. Are you waiting for God to lay hands on you, so to speak? God, this problem's so big. When are you going to do something about it? Why don't you lay hands on Him? Instead of complaining about the problem, Lord, I want to thank you that things are turning in my favor. Thank you that no weapon formed against me will prosper. Lord, thank you that you hold victory in store for the upright. I don't see a way, but Lord, I want to thank you. I know you have a way. When you do that, you're laying hands on God. Your faith can initiate the healing. Your faith can be the catalyst for God to do amazing things. Acts chapter 14, the Apostle Paul was teaching people. He noticed a crippled man in the crowd. He'd been that way since birth, never walked. Verse 9 says, Paul realized the man had faith to be healed. Here the man was just sitting in the audience listening to Paul, but he must have had such anticipation on his face. Paul must have seen something in his expression, an expectancy that something good was going to happen, like a little child at a candy store. Paul was so impressed, he stopped his message and said, Sir, I can see you're ready for your miracle. Stand up. The man stood up and instantly he was healed, began to walk for the first time. Like that man, we should live with this anticipation that something good is going to happen. Yes, we've all had difficulties. We all have a reason to be sour. Don't let that talk you out of what God has in store. You wouldn't be alive if there wasn't something amazing in your future. Can your faith be seen? Can anyone notice that you're expecting to go to a new level? Are you talking like it's going to happen? Thinking like it's going to happen? Believing like it's going to happen? God is passing by. But if you're negative, I don't see how it'll work out. I never get any good breaks. I've been this way a long time. You may brush up against Him, but you're not going to touch Him. You have to show God you're ready to be healed, ready to be free, ready to be blessed. There should be an expectancy. It could happen today. You could meet the person of your dreams this week. You could see your health turn around this month. This year could be your year to go to a new level where things fall into place. Good breaks find you. Promises you've been believing for suddenly come to pass. Well, Joel, what if I believe for it and it doesn't happen? What if you believe for it and it does happen? When you live with expectancy, where your faith can be seen in your expressions, in your attitude, and how you talk, that's going to cause God to notice you in a new way.